All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets on PrizePicks and Underdog today in the NBA, but also going to be talking about some sleeper prop bets and some pick-6 bets because, well, we have some promos that are going on those two sites, and I want to call that out to you guys. But first, we'll get into a quick recap from yesterday's slate. All right, so good news, bad news, guys. Bad news is not a good day yesterday. Eric Reynolds had like one fantasy point going into half, ends up with 16.7. Didn't watch it, but that's obviously just strange there. Cooper Flag, we knew that this one was more or less just trying to hit a middle. We actually saw this line actually continuously rise throughout the day on both PrizePicks and Underdog, and I called that out because on the Underdog, it started at like 35.5 to start the day. That one really went up. Obviously, that one was the middle, so hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that on Underdog. So the good news is that really the last 2 days on PrizePicks have not been great. So that typically means that we're going to have some pretty good days on PrizePicks coming up. That's just the typical balancing act after really last week where we were just dominating picks wise. So I'm kind of excited for that. Now it has been pretty good on Underdog lately as well. Like literally my best week over the last week on Underdog. So we'll see what happens there. That's probably going to come down here as well. But let's go ahead and talk about a pick-6 kind of free square that is out there. So this is a slip that I ended up running out there for pick-6. If you guys don't want to do this one, or if there's another one that's popping up, by all means, go for that. I did want to call this out because there is this free square that's currently out there. Please take advantage of that if possible. And then on Sleeper, we also have this Wild Card Wednesday prop going on there for Donovan Mitchell over 19.5 points. As you can see, they're calling it 20% off. We'll talk about some bets later on in the video that you can use with that. And then on PrizePicks today, we are getting some discounts, probably because one of the tacos missed yesterday. People are just not happy. They're giving us bad tacos lately, and so they're like, all right, give them another discount. So we'll be talking about some profits we can use with these ones as well. So we go ahead and jump on into the board that we have today, guys, and it's kind of loaded with some good bets. And this was kind of the annoyance of yesterday, especially at the time that I did the video. Just not that many good prop bets popping up. I'm doing this video a little bit later here, so give a like, guys, for that as well. That does help out the channel. But looking at, we are getting several prop bets that are really popping up. Let's just talk about if I agree with them or not. So Miles McBride is certainly the first interesting one there that's popping up for his over fantasy score. And what we're going to notice is that this game does have the potential to be a blowout going against Chicago there. It is a pretty high scoring game as well. He is someone that his minutes are not really being adjusted at all. If we look across the board through all the data points that we have, it's basically telling us that he should be able to get this over as well. So all data points are very much correlating with this over. Now, he is someone that his shot attempts and just he needs to make most of this up with his points. I mean, typically speaking, that's going to be the case with most players, but that's how it is with him as well. He needs to get most of his fantasy points from his scoring. And so we'll know pretty early on, I think, once he gets into the game, whether or not he's shooting the basketball a lot and playing well. We see this last game against the Pacers where he just wasn't shooting it well, was obviously not able to get the over there. But this is a good matchup against Chicago, so that should increase his likelihood of getting the over there. So another one that we have popping up is going to be Patrick Williams in that exact same game. Kind of surprised by this one. Honestly, this is not one where I love going out of my way to target it. Patrick Williams over the last 2 games has really crushed this over, and we can see in a couple of games they're really close to getting the over there as well against Minnesota and against Utah. Now, I think the reason why this one is popping up for him is one, we do see that these minutes right here was somewhat of an outlier in terms of the minutes that he's been getting for the most part recently. Now, the Bulls are a team that can get blown out. And this is also going to be more of a difficult matchup against New York, so I'm pretty sure that those are the 2 variables that are going into it. I wouldn't say that this is that big of an edge there. This is like coming up as like one of the best edges we could have, like a 57% likelihood. I would say it's closer to like 52 for the under. Now we get into 2 that I kind of agree with here. So we got Queta here for Boston, and this is one that I do like. If you look at his per 36 production with Al Horford off the court, he is someone that benefits a lot. And Al Horford is going to be out in tonight's game. We do see that he just gets a minutes bump. Like he's not going to get 36 minutes. We know that for sure. Well, I shouldn't say for sure, but more likely than not, he's not going to get 36 minutes. But I would argue these projected minutes are a little bit too low. And we can see just across the board, if he does get those minutes, maybe except for the DVP, he should be able to get this over. And so we look at that game log for Queta as well. Like we can see in games where he does get a little bit of that minutes bump, he is consistently being able to get this over. So that is a bet that I do agree with. And surprisingly, Brooklyn has been a pretty plus matchup for opposing bigs as well. So I can get behind that one. I feel, decently comfortable with it. If this game ends up being a blowout as well, he has a chance to even still get those minutes as well. So that's kind of baked in there. So I do kind of like the opportunity there. We see last time out against Brooklyn, 27 minutes, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, only 3 points. Don't exactly love that, but he was able to get the over in that game because anytime you get 3 blocks, that's obviously pretty huge there. So the last one that we're getting is going to be Brandon Boston Jr. to get over his fantasy score. And this line does seem to be pretty low. Okay, so Orlando, kind of a tougher matchup. He was able to get the over there. We can see 3 out of the last 4 games, he's been able to get the over there as well. And part of the reason as to why he's been playing a lot is that the Pelicans are just so banged up, guys. Okay, so they're gonna be without DeJounte Murray. Jose Alvarado is someone that was injured last game and extremely tilting. I was on him a decent amount in that last game. He didn't play that much in the first half. He must have came back and played in the second half. I didn't check that out, but yeah, he ended up being injured in that game, and so that bet missed. That was annoying. But McCollum's out, Zion Williams is out, and DeJounte Murray's out, and Jordan Hawkins is out as well. So you got someone like Brandon Boston, who doesn't have the highest usage rate, about 19%, but has been averaging about 16 points per 36, 4.5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 41 fantasy points per 36 with all those players off the court. And so we get into this bet, and what we notice here is that he is projected to get around 33 minutes, which should be right on par with him to be able to get this over. Now, the biggest concern I want to call out is they are almost 15-point dogs in this game. This one is almost guaranteed to be a blowout. Now, yes, OKC is going to be without Chet Holmgren. Maybe that works to the favor of the Pelicans. Maybe, who knows? It's kind of a weird bet in that sense. Like, will he still get blowout run? I would assume so. Like, he's not an established player, not a typical starter. I would assume so. But at the same time, we got to remember a player like this is not playing, is not starting for a reason. 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 23 minutes at the start of the season. Now, obviously, he's been playing a lot recently, but that's a concern to me. Now, he did have a terrible night shooting in his last game against Brooklyn, but still managed 10 assists, so he is finding ways to make a difference. Did have 3 steals. If he's gained multiple steals, that's pretty huge for us. But it's definitely an interesting line. And while we're talking about the Pelicans in this game, I want to talk about some other prop bets I like in this game in general. And so Brandon Ingram was part of an extremely high tilt for me. I think just in our last game, he was stuck at like 22 points for like a full quarter. It's like his over 23.5 points was a bet that I liked a lot. I think I made him the cover boy of that slate, and he got 2 more points in the rest of the game, and it was a close game. It didn't make any sense. It was extremely annoying, honestly, there. I think he just went cold. But I still don't mind some of his bets that we are getting today. And so you look at some of his like per 36 production numbers with all those players off the court, he does crush the over. And so this is one of those ones where I actually don't mind it as a sleeper bet potentially. I kind of mentioned there were some sleeper bets that I like. The reason why I suggest that is because obviously you need to get to at least 3x with your bets on sleeper. He is someone that does average 34 points per 36 with those players off the court. So, you should be able to crush that. That's a bet that I really don't mind. But also in that, the opposite side of this game, we have Jalen Williams, and I want to call it this fantasy score prop bet, which I find fascinating that's popping up. So he's going to start at center. They're just kind of going positionless basketball with Chet Holmgren being out. And if you look at his stats, it's a limited sample size, but you look at his stats with Chet Holmgren off the court, he averages 47 points per 36. 47 fantasy points per 36, 23.7 points per 36. And so this is another one where like on sleeper, I don't mind the idea of using his over points with that. I think that's a decent route to go about doing it. It is interesting that the average sportsbook line is not liking the over for him. And that might just be due to the game being a blowout. Like he is projected to get 33 minutes still. But let's say that game's a blowout and maybe only gets 28 minutes or something like that. It is 14 points. Then I could see him not getting this over. This is one where we look at everything else, like average projection, it's closer to the PrizePicks line of 42. The projection, 41.62. DVP projection, maybe that's part of the reason as to why the under's being favored. I don't know. I don't exactly like that. Again, I think this is a better sportsbook bet for his over points. And then let's talk about SGA. So SGA is certainly in an interesting spot here as well. He's another one of those players that, does benefit a bunch with Chet Holmgren off the court. Actually, his usage rate goes up by like 6%, which I was surprised by. You look at his per 36 production with Chet Holmgren off the court, he averages 35.5 points per 36, 6.1 rebounds, 7.3 assists, 37% usage rate, which is insane, and 58.5 fantasy points per 36. So I actually really like the idea of betting his over points. Again, that's going to be more so for a bet on sleeper because this is like a 51% likelihood for the over to hit on prize picks and underdogs, so might as well just bet that on something like sleeper. So that kind of does it for those sleeper bets that I mentioned with the wild card Wednesday. And so let's kind of continue on here with some of the other top prop bets that were popping up. Dennis Schroeder for under his fantasy score is one that's popping up. I don't hate that. Pascal Siakam for under his fantasy score is kind of popping up as a good one. And then we also see Cat for under his fantasy score is one that's popping up as well. After that, the lines get a little bit tighter, and they're not exactly bets that I feel like we need to go out of our way to target, but so many more bets on this slate that we could be targeting and probably should be targeting. Let's just take a peek at Dennis Schroeder and Pascal Siakam. Now, Siakam gets a difficult matchup here going against Orlando. We can see last time out against Orlando, he did not get this over as well. And so it makes sense why the under is being favored. Now, if you look at what he should be doing, he should be scoring more than this. And so he's kind of just a player where, sure, we can ride this wave of betting the under. You know, we can kind of agree with the data there, but it is strange that he's not doing better. And then we look at Dennis Schroeder here as well. He is someone that, with Ben Simmons on the court, his role does get reduced. And this game does have a little bit of a potential to be a blowout. 8.5 points, that's when I do start to worry about a blowout. And so I could see myself wanting to bet on his under. And we see the minutes go down a little bit as well for his projected minutes. And so, yeah, I can get behind betting his under. He is someone that when Ben Simmons is off the court, he's going to do better. When Ben Simmons is on the court, his role gets reduced. And so, yeah, I could see betting his under. Now, real quickly, I do want to talk about just some other spots that we have here, guys. Bradley Beal did not come back in the game, in their last game. Only ended up playing 29 minutes. Thankfully, he was able to get his over for us yesterday if you guys end up using that. But that meant Devin Booker ended up having a massive usage rate and really got going at the end of that game last night. And so he is someone that's going to benefit with Bradley Beal out pretty much immensely. So he averages 31 points per 36 with Beal off the court. Usage rate is about 30% and averages 48 fantasy points per 36. So he is someone that clearly does benefit. And then let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. So Damian Lillard expected to sit again with a concussion. Chris Middleton, I believe he is still expected to sit. He's questionable. So that means that we're going to look at maybe Andre Jackson to get back into the starting lineup, who did play last game, but didn't play that much. We'll see. Ryan Rollins is someone that really went off for the Bucks last game. He's currently questionable as well, so we'll see. But AJ Green is actually someone I want to bet on. I don't think we're going to be able to bet on him. AJ Green is someone that played 30 minutes, didn't exactly shoot the basketball all too well, 4 for 14, but I love the shot attempts there. And so I want to get some bets on him. If we do, I like it. His per 36 production, not going to get 36 minutes, but it's per 36 production, 19 points, 18% usage rate, and about 29 fantasy points per 36. So adjust that down to about 30. And I'm hoping we're going to get some good lines on him. And for what it's worth, we'll take a peek at Giannis as well. Giannis had kind of a bad game in terms of Giannis, and you would imagine he would have had a better game. And so he just didn't shoot the basketball too much because everyone else was making some threes. And so Giannis, you would almost imagine, would have a better game in this game. He averages 31 points per 36 with Lillard off the court and averages 12.5 rebounds, 7.2 assists, 34% usage rate, and 63 fantasy points per 36. So I did just want to call that out with him. And then real quickly, guys, let's go ahead and jump back into that prize picks board that we have in general. We are getting some good college basketball prop bets here. We got DJ Wagner for under his points, rebounds, and assists of 18.5. We can see the average sportsbook line would have it set at 17.5 and still be slightly fair in the under there. So that's strange that this one has been available for this long. And then we also have Juwan Roberts for under his rebounds of 7.5. We can see the average sportsbook line is giving it about a 50-50 split for him to get 7. So that tells me some books are telling us it's 7.5 and heavily favoring the under. Some are putting the line at 6.5 and heavily favoring the over. Thus, we meet in the middle, and it's 7. So I kind of agree with the under there. We have a receptions prop as well, over 3.5 receptions in college football. I'm assuming that's tonight. I mean, we're getting a plethora of good prop bets today. It's kind of crazy. I wish we had this board yesterday, but thankfully we have all those discounts. Now, the annoyance is that Dennis Schroeder, again, his under fantasy score is being favored. That's one of the bets that we are getting today. 12 points, 12.5 points. A little bit annoying there. So that actually could be more of a sweat than we hope. Hopefully not. Fingers crossed. And for what's worth, we look at this college basketball line here. This should be 41.5, but the under's favored there at that point. So the line at 39.5, not a big difference. But I want to call that out in case we get any underdog lines that are coming in here for his fantasy score. And maybe we can jump on a middle opportunity there. But as it sits right now, Underdog has no fantasy score lines out there. And then real quickly, we'll just take a peek at the Underdog board as it sits right now. We have Saquon Barkley to get over his fantasy score. That's kind of popping up if you guys like that for Thursday. We got a college football bet that's, I don't exactly love. Zach Ertz for under fantasy scores kind of popping up on Underdog. DJ Wagner, the under PRA for him is popping up. Not as many NBA bets popping up. We got Norman Powell for over his rebounds and assists. That's okay. Definitely a tighter board on Underdog. So going to be more of a PrizePicks day, especially with those discounts that we have. So let's jump into the PrizePicks bet of the day. But first, let's call out the promo code that's going on the website. Use promo code KeepCashing and 20% off your first month. Or if you're a returning member, take advantage of that, guys. Turns your $10 membership into $8 for that month. And try to lock in your rate. I probably come the new year will be increasing the price for new members. So anyone that signed up prior, you can lock in that rate up until you cancel. So it'd be $10 for the rest of it. And anyone that signs up after that, it's going to increase. Thinking about doing that, we will see. Just keep adding stuff in, adding in more and more tools to the point where, all right, probably time to do a slight price increase, but not for people that have already paid or are already paying. I don't want to just magically bump the price up. Anyways, looking at the PrizePicks bet today, again, guys, with the discount, going over the strategy. If you guys have, I don't know, I haven't looked yet. I haven't tested out to see how many bets are available. If you guys are limited, I would just suggest doing a 5-slip bet or 6-slip bet, one of those two. Okay. If you're not limited, do these all individually with that bet slip or with that discounted square, the LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder, you wouldn't use him with himself. You can't. And then, oops, this is a slightly different one. Although Yusuf Nurk under fantasy scores kind of popping up. I don't love that. Here we go. Much better. But obviously, you'd want to pair them up 5 times individually with that discounted slip. So one with Dennis Schroeder over points here, one with Dennis Schroeder over points here. So that's how you go about attacking it. So just to recap, guys, we got Queta for over his fantasy score. He does average this over with Al Horford off the court. This game is at about an 8.5 point spread. He should be someone that does still get run, regardless if it's a blowout. And same thing's going to apply for Brandon Brosnan Jr., who's in a game where it's like a 15 point spread, 14.5. I mean, it's crazy. He is someone that still should get run, regardless of how the game goes. After that, we got Pascal Siakam, who has been struggling lately for under his fantasy score. Did get this under against Orlando the last time they played. I don't know. I like Siakam. I don't like betting the under there. I don't like the fact that we are betting a lot of unders, to be honest with you. And then Dennis Schroeder for under his fantasy score against Boston, probably not going to get that blowout run. And so it's kind of a bet on that game actually blowing out there. We did see Patrick Williams under fantasy score was one that was popping up, as well as Jalen Williams for under his fantasy score. 2 bets that I personally didn't love that much. And then we are just taking advantage of these EV bets that we currently have in college basketball, guys. If you guys don't like those, obviously this is an NBA video. Bet how you want, right? All right, so that's going to be all, guys. Do appreciate you guys being here. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the 9to5sports.com website if you guys want access to some cheat sheets for PrizePicks and Underdog. Make some better educated bets for yourself. Check that out. $10 a month. Use promo code KeepCashing to get the first month for $8. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.